Okay, I will repeat the question. Is the earth that God mentioned in verse 1 the same earth that are mentioned in verse 9 and 10? Okay, no, that is not. The earth that God mentioned in verse 1 was described in verse 2. The earth that God created in verse 1 are described as without form, void, and clothed with deep darkness. It's not only that clothed, but deep. There is a face of deep darkness. While the earth that are mentioned in verse 9 and 10, before the creation of it, light has been created in verses 3 down to 5. It says like this. Okay, the Bible says here. Okay, listen. And God said, let there be light. And God saw the light, that it was good. And God divided the light from the darkness. And God called the light day, and the darkness he called night. And the evening and the morning were the first day. Okay. That is in verse 3 down to 5. Before he created the earth, the land, in verse 9 and 10, there has been light in verses 3 and 5 that God created. So, the earth that he created in verse 1 was clothed with darkness, while the earth that he created in verse 9 and 10 was clothed with the beauty of God's wisdom. If the earth in verse 1 without form and void, the earth that he created in verse 9 and 10 have form, because he called it land, surrounded by waters. So the earth that God mentioned in verse 1 and the earth that God mentioned in verse 9 and 10 is not the same. The earth that he mentioned in verse 1 is what we can imagine as a frame. As a frame. Where the land that he created in verse 9 and 10 founded in that frame. We cannot dig it more, since he say that there is form, and then I say that there is a frame, but it looks like that the land that he created in verse 9 and 10 stand without heaven and earth that he created in verse 1. It holds the land that he created in verse 9 and 10. That is the earth in verse 1. earth in verse 9 and 10 that he mentioned was the feeling of empty and void earth that he created in verse 1 and called it earth. Meaning, to believe that there is 1,000 or millions of years, and there is the existence of people before the creation of Adam and Eve. To study the Bible, they cannot exist. There is no, especially to believe that there is people before the creation of Adam and Eve. Adam and Eve was created at the 6 days. 6th day. First day, he created the light. Second day, he created the firmament or heaven where the clouds and the stars and moon stays. He created the seas in the land. He created the plants and animals. And then in 6 days, he created the human being. That is the order of God's creation. The plants and animals, the animals will multiply according to their kind. The plants multiply according to their seed. In human being, multiplication is according to human being. Is everything that I say true and speak reality? Yes. The Bible clearly say and tells its reality. Human being, true human being. Animals, multiplication is according to their kinds. Plants according to their kinds, or trees according to their seeds. And that is the reality in the present situation. The Bible really tells us the truth. And that is what we call Bible the biblical uh, uh, clear teaching of the Bible. Okay, so that's all for today. Thank you very much.